The Roman-Germanic Wars were not a singular event but an enduring conflict that spanned centuries. These endless clashes were fought not only on the battlefield but in the realms of diplomacy, culture, and ideology. They represent the collision of Rome's imperial ambition with the fiercely independent tribes of Germania. This ongoing struggle shaped the destiny of Europe, leaving a legacy of resilience, adaptability, and cultural fusion. Prologue: a frontier of fire. The Rhine and Danube rivers marked the boundaries between two worlds, the structured might of the Roman Empire and the untamed wilderness of Germania. This frontier was more than a geographic line. It was a space of constant friction, where civilizations vied for dominance. To the Romans, Germania was a land of opportunity and danger, a region to be conquered and tamed. To the Germanic tribes, Rome was an alien force, both feared and admired, threatening their freedom and way of life. From these opposing perspectives emerged centuries of warfare, negotiation, and uneasy coexistence. Chapter 1: The Shadow of Teutoburg. The catastrophic defeat of 3 Roman legions in the Teutoburg forest in 9 CE marked the beginning of a new phase in the Roman-Germanic Wars. Arminius, a Germanic prince who had been trained by the Romans, masterminded the ambush that decimated Varus' forces. For Rome, the loss was devastating. Emperor Augustus reportedly cried, "Quinctilius Varus, give me back my legions." The Teutoburg disaster not only halted Roman expansion into Germania but also left a psychological scar on the empire. Despite this setback, Rome was not deterred. The campaigns of Germanicus a few years later sought revenge, burning Germanic villages and recovering 2 of the 3 lost legionary standards. Yet, the dense forests and fiercely independent tribes made permanent conquest impossible. Chapter 2: The Long Frontier Wars. After the Teutoburg debacle, Rome adopted a defensive strategy. The empire fortified its borders along the Rhine and Danube, constructing the Limes Germanicus, a network of forts, watchtowers, and walls. Constant raids and retaliations. The Germanic tribes, unbound by the constraints of empire, launched frequent raids across the frontier. These incursions were met with brutal Roman retaliations. The cycle of violence became a defining feature of life on the Roman frontier. Germanic resistance. The tribes, though often disunited, adapted to Roman tactics. Leaders like Maroboduus of the Marcomanni and later confederations such as the Alemanni and Franks emerged as significant threats. These groups employed guerrilla tactics, exploiting the terrain to counter Rome's disciplined legions. Chapter 3: The Marcomannic Wars, 166 to 180 CE. The Marcomannic Wars during the reign of Emperor Marcus Aurelius marked a particularly intense chapter in the Roman-Germanic struggle. These wars were triggered by a massive coalition of Germanic tribes and other barbarian groups who pushed into Roman territory along the Danube frontier. The Roman response. Marcus Aurelius, though renowned as a philosopher, proved a capable wartime leader. He waged a brutal campaign to repel the invaders, often writing his meditations amidst the chaos of war. The emperor's victories temporarily stabilized the frontier, but the strain on Rome's resources and manpower was immense, a fragile peace. The wars ended with treaties that granted some tribes land within the empire as federates, allied tribes. This arrangement sowed the seeds for future conflicts, as these federates maintained their autonomy while living inside Roman territory. Chapter 4: The Migration Period, 4th to 5th century CE. By the 4th century, the Roman Empire faced a new wave of Germanic incursions, driven in part by the pressure of the Huns from the east. The so-called migration period brought dramatic shifts in the Roman-Germanic relationship. The Goths, one of the most significant Germanic groups, crossed the Danube in 376 CE, seeking refuge from the Huns. Initially granted asylum, they rebelled after suffering mistreatment. Their victory at the Battle of Adrianople in 378 CE was a devastating blow to Rome, marking the beginning of the empire's decline. The sack of Rome. In 410 CE, the Visigoths under Alaric sacked Rome. While not the end of the empire, the event symbolized the vulnerability of a once invincible power. Germanic kingdoms. As the Western Roman Empire crumbled, Germanic tribes established their own kingdoms. The Franks, Vandals, Ostrogoths, and others carved up Roman territories, blending their traditions with Roman governance and culture. Chapter 5. The Rise of the Franks. Among the Germanic tribes, the Franks emerged as one of the most influential. Under leaders like Clovis I, who united the Frankish tribes and converted to Christianity, they laid the groundwork for the Carolingian Empire. Charlemagne and the Roman legacy. Charlemagne, crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 800 CE, sought to revive the Roman imperial ideal. His empire combined Roman administrative practices with Germanic warrior culture, creating a new European identity that would shape the Middle Ages. Chapter 6. Endless Echoes. The Roman-Germanic wars were not confined to antiquity. Their impact reverberated through the centuries. Cultural fusion. The wars fostered a blending of Roman and Germanic traditions. Germanic rulers adopted Roman legal systems, architecture, and Christianity, while Roman society absorbed Germanic customs. This fusion laid the foundations for medieval European culture. Nationalism and myth. In later centuries, the memory of these conflicts was resurrected to serve nationalist agendas. Arminius, Hermann in German, became a symbol of German unity and resistance, particularly during the 19th century unification of Germany. Epilogue. Lessons of the clashes. The Roman-Germanic wars were a testament to the resilience of both civilizations. Rome, though ultimately unable to conquer Germania, demonstrated adaptability and ingenuity in managing its frontiers. The Germanic tribes, despite their internal divisions, preserved their independence and eventually shaped the post-Roman world. Chapter 7. The Transformation of Germania. The Germanic tribes, once fragmented and decentralized, underwent a gradual transformation during and after the Roman-Germanic Wars. This transformation was driven by their interactions with the Roman Empire, which shaped their political structures, military strategies, and cultural identities. Adopting Roman practices. While fiercely protective of their independence, many Germanic tribes adopted aspects of Roman governance and military organization. Leaders like Arminius, who were trained in Roman methods, passed these tactics to their tribes. Over time, the use of iron weapons, fortified settlements, and more coordinated battle strategies became common among the Germanic peoples. Confederations and alliances. The relentless pressure from Rome and other external forces, such as the Huns, spurred the formation of tribal confederations. The Alemanni, Saxons, and later the Franks were not single tribes but coalitions formed to resist external domination. These alliances allowed for more effective resistance against Roman incursions, as well as internal stability in a land marked by shifting power dynamics. Chapter 8. The Fall of the Western Roman Empire. By the late 4th century, the Roman Empire faced existential threats from within and without. Germanic tribes played a central role in the gradual disintegration of Roman authority in the West. The Vandals and the sack of Carthage. One of the most dramatic events of this era was the migration of the Vandals. Crossing into Roman territory, they eventually settled in North Africa, where they captured Carthage in 439 CE. Their naval dominance allowed them to launch raids on Roman territories, culminating in the infamous sack of Rome in 455 CE. The Ostrogoths and Italy. The Ostrogoths, led by Theodoric the Great, established a kingdom in Italy. Unlike earlier invaders, Theodoric sought to preserve Roman traditions, maintaining the infrastructure and governance systems left behind by the empire. His reign represented a brief but remarkable synthesis of Roman and Germanic cultures. The end of the Western Empire. In 476 CE, the Western Roman Empire formally ended when the Germanic chieftain Odoacer deposed the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. Odoacer declared himself king of Italy, marking the beginning of a new era dominated by Germanic rule. Chapter 9. The Eastern Roman Empire and Germania. While the Western Roman Empire fell, the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine Empire, remained a formidable power. Its interactions with the Germanic world continued to shape the dynamics of the region. Byzantine diplomacy. The Byzantine Empire often employed diplomacy to manage Germanic tribes. Treaties and alliances allowed the Byzantines to maintain relative stability, even as they faced threats from other fronts, such as the Persians and later the Arabs. The Gothic Wars. One of the most significant conflicts between the Byzantines and the Germanic world was the Gothic War, 535 to 554 CE. Emperor Justinian sought to reclaim Italy from the Ostrogoths, resulting in a brutal conflict that devastated the region. Though the Byzantines succeeded, their victory left Italy weakened and vulnerable to future invasions.